The UK's economic woes seem to be particularly acute compared to some of its neighbours and like-minded countries. Do you accept that Brexit in any way is a contributing factor?
Well, I think when you're thinking about what the UK's economic situation is, I'd point you back to the comments and the statistics that I made in my opening remarks. 2/3 of the global economy, or G20 members, seeing inflation rates above 7% at the moment. The IMF thinks 1/3 of the global economy either is or will be in recession. That is the global context. That's what's dominated the conversations that I've been having here. And we know why that is. It's the legacy of COVID, and it's, of course, what Putin is doing that is driving up energy and indeed food prices.
Of course, the pandemic is a factor, and so is the war in Ukraine. But the Prime Minister's outright refusal to acknowledge the catastrophic damage on the UK economy from the hard Brexit his party has inflicted on the country is just complete insanity. With this level of denial from the man running the country, what hope do we have? Sunak knows the OBR says Brexit will inflict double the damage on the UK economy that the pandemic did. He knows the UK economy is the only one in the G7 which is shrinking at the moment. He knows Brexit has contributed to UK trade performance falling to its worst level on record. He knows business investment is trailing other industrialised countries. Don't just take my word for this. Listen to Michael Saunders, Senior Advisor at Oxford Economics and former member of Monetary Policy Committee at the Bank of England.
The UK economy as a whole has been permanently damaged by Brexit. It's reduced the economy's potential output significantly, eroded business investment. I mean, look, if we hadn't had Brexit, we probably wouldn't be talking about an austerity budget this week. The need for tax rises, spending cuts wouldn't be there if Brexit hadn't reduced the economy's potential output so much.
Lost output because of Brexit is estimated to be worth a staggering £100 billion a year. Now take a look at the UK's trade as a whole. The Office for Budget Responsibility has concluded there's been a 15% reduction in trade intensity as a result of Brexit. It also released this data. The red line shows UK exports. Unlike other advanced economies, the UK's exports haven't bounced back after COVID. The OBR links this to Brexit. And then there's business investment. It peaked in 2016, the year of the Brexit referendum. It's never returned to that level. Then there's the value of the pound. The strength of the dollar has lowered the value of currencies around the world, but the pound has fallen considerably against the dollar since the Brexit referendum in 2016. Sunak knows a weaker pound makes imported goods more expensive, which in turn has contributed to inflation. All of this has led the OBR to forecast Brexit will reduce UK GDP by 4% over 15 years. A level of decline worth about £100 billion a year in lost output.
After the pandemic, there was a trade recovery by all the other G7 countries, and Britain's trade recovery has been more or less flat.
It gets worse.
We see the UK pretty close to the bottom of the league table in terms of the forecast for economic growth, particularly in 2023. So the UK essentially sees no growth at all, and the only country that was worse than the UK was sanctioned Russia.
And then there's this.
We have got people queuing up to come to this country to pick crops that are rotting in fields, to work in warehouses that otherwise wouldn't be operable, and we're not letting them in.
Again, Sunak knows ending free movement has contributed to high inflation labour shortages which are holding back UK business growth. But instead of acknowledging this fact, the Prime Minister is shamelessly blaming the problem on those claiming benefits.
What's the number one challenge other than energy costs? It's getting access to workers and getting people to actually work. And I strongly believe that part of the answer to this problem is being much tougher on our welfare system.
For the Prime Minister to just stick his head in the sand and pretend none of this is happening is utter madness.